One of the tutors in the tutoring center stopped me the other day while I was walking through that area and asked me a question. The first question was how many steps I get a day. And after I told him how many I got and the fact that I usually get here with 10,000 steps because I run a 5K every morning, his first comment surprised me. The first thing I told him, I get around 35,000 steps on an average day. I usually have 10,000 by the time I get here. I run a 5K every day. And his first comment was, how can you run so much and still be that fat? So I sat for a minute and thought, and then said, of all the responses you could have had, you went for a criticism. Good luck with that. And walked away. Because I don't need to engage with people like that. It's kind of interesting. There are plenty of valid responses to this. And even my students last night were shocked when I told them this story. But he could have asked questions about where I run. Do I go to a gym? He could have asked how long I've been running. He could have asked a lot of things. He could have said a lot of things. He could have given me praise. And the only thing out of his mouth was a criticism. Now, I could have returned tit for tat. This dude makes me look like Channing Tatum. So there's plenty of room for me to have returned quid pro quo and given him better than he gave me. But I didn't want to be that kind of a person. I'm not running to impress anyone. I don't do the steps to lord over anyone. I mean, God only knows I'm not where I want to be, and I pray regularly. I'd like to see the fruits of this because I've been running a 5K every day for the last 7 months, and for the 3 years before that, I was running three of them a week. Still about the same number of steps. I get about 180 to 200,000, 220,000 steps every week. So it's not for lack of effort, because there's another thing going here. Well, two other major things. Number one, age. The simple fact of the matter is that you cannot stop the progress of time, and that as you get older, it becomes more difficult for you to stay in shape regardless, because of centuries of biological breeding that have determined that in order to keep us alive, we need to stockpile fat around our midsection so that when we're 40, 50, and 60 and can't hunt as well anymore, we don't starve to death. Because, we didn't used to have Uber Eats. The second thing that is going for us is genetics. Now, you have not seen, well, actually, there is a video on here of my grandfather, the one from Iceland, and he is not skinny. If you look at that and you look at me, I'm doing really well. In fact, I pulled a picture the other day of my dad at this age, just before I went to Europe last year, and I look better than my dad did when he was this age. So I felt a little good about that, because my father did like 24 years in the military, and I look better than he did at my age. I feel good about that, because that means maybe something's going for me. But no matter what I do, you can't fight genetics. You can't ultimately win. My close friend, who now lives in France, told me one day that he's seen my father. He's seen a photo of my grandfather. He's seen one of my brothers. He says, you are fighting genetics and you are eventually going to lose. And I said, that doesn't mean I have to give up now. And I haven't. I am frustrated by it. Not just because of the fact that I don't seem to be making the headway that I would like, but because when there's an opportunity for feedback, it often turns into a backhanded compliment. I had this foolish, perhaps, supposition that in attempting to approach me and address this issue, that this person had found something laudatory. Instead, the only time I've ever talked to this man, he said something derogatory and condescending, which is interesting because really, in order to condescend, you must be on a higher level, and he is clearly not. Now, this is not to shame him, so I won't show you his picture or his name. I don't actually know his name. He didn't even bother to introduce himself. I didn't tell him mine either. But they know where I work because of students, and I know where he works because I know the people he hangs out with are all staff in the tutoring center. So it's funny that I can go from that into class, tell the story, and have a room full of 20, well, they're not all this age, but 20 to 25-year-olds go, "You look fine. You look great." Or, "Every day?" Because when I told my sister, who's 9 years younger than I am, her comment was, "Wow, how?" And I think it made her feel bad because she exercises regularly, but I think she does gym and then run and then gym and then run. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do both of those in the same day, every day. And she was shocked because it's a lot more than she could conceive of doing herself. So it's interesting the different reactions that you get, where I have a blood relative who's impressed and shocked. I have other random strangers who are in probably the best looking they may ever be in their lives, unless they get into physical exercise, who don't see anything bad in the way I look, at least, even if they're not laudatory about the way I look. And then there's this dude. I don't know what his agenda was. I don't know what he was trying to achieve. But it's interesting because it seems like there's always one of these, no matter what you do and no matter where you go, who will go out there and Nelson Muntz you and find something to mock and belittle about a good thing that you were doing. I will tell you, I'm frustrated. I get up every day, leave the house, usually by 6 o'clock. And regardless of how much sleep I got the night before, regardless of the fact that it's raining this morning, it wasn't raining while I was running, which is nice because if it's really raining, it sucks. I do it day in, day out, rain or shine. The only time I don't run is if I'm on vacation because there's no point in running in a city I don't know and getting lost. To make this effort and then have that be the response would be really debilitating for a lot of people. And so I just think what I want to do with this video is encourage you to school your reactions. Because, like I told my class last night, the way you treat the future patients with whom you will work will have an impact on how they feel about the course of treatment that you prescribe, whether or not they trust you, whether or not they continue to follow your advice. And if you present yourself as this tutor where all you can do is find fault with their efforts or the outcomes, because no one's perfect, then you're going to debilitate and defeat any of your efforts to improve their lives. But if you go in there seeing that they're making an effort and applaud them for that, then it will incentivize them to keep going. People tend to react to the feedback they receive. And so if all you ever have to say is negative, usually what people do is they stop talking to you. Or if you're always asking them to borrow money, use the car, I need your help, blah, 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 then they find other people with whom to associate. But people like to surround themselves with people who build them. My grandfather, the fat one from Iceland, was a fan of poetry, so I will leave you with this poem. It's not one I learned from him, it's one I learned from someone else. I walked one day through a lonely town. Some workers were tearing a building down. With a ho-heave-ho and a husky yell, they slung a beam and a sidewall fell. I asked the men, "Are these men skilled? The kind you'd hire if you want to build?" "Oh, no," he chuckled, "no, indeed. Common labor is all I need. Why, I can destroy in a day or two what builders have taken weeks to do." I thought to myself as I went on my way, which of these roles have I tried to play? Am I a builder who builds with care, strengthening lives by rule and square, or am I a wrecker who goes around content with the task of tearing down? You can be a builder or a wrecker. The choice is up to you, and that will bear out itself in the way your life plays out too. If you're a builder, then others will build you, and wreckers will try to tear you down. If you're a wrecker, not sure how that goes, because I'm not one of them. I don't think I ought to be, and I don't think you should be too. I feel bad for this dude. I think he's leading a quiet life of desperation, and that this was his probably be the only opportunity he ever has to find fault with me in my life. I hope he enjoyed it. Anyway, consider who you want to be and what you want to do and what your legacy is. And I'll tell you another story next time about a story or a principle I'm trying to teach my students. It's a new one this semester that I believe will be a benefit to them in helping other people that I may never meet to have a better life. And maybe it'll help you too. Anyway, Godspeed. Have a good day and stay dry.